Welcome to Live Laugh Talks, his and hers with Miko. Hey, Miko.
Hello, how you doing?
Doing great. And yourself?
Pretty good, living a dream.
The American dream. Glad of that. Well, we were talking the other day, and as usual, we bring folks right on up in our conversation. Back in October, it was October the 4th, we did a show. Actually, it was one of the regular Live Laugh Talk shows, and we're going to revisit it. It was Can you romantically love two people? So what we're talking about is a polyamorous relationship. And in that conversation, we talked about two people, but we also talked about more than two people.
Mhm.
So, you know, it can get so we figured we would revisit this because we got a lot of feedback on that. And also want to get a feel for that subject from the his and hers point of view, not just the his like it was the first time. So to start off, I feel about this subject like I did. I still haven't changed since October. It hadn't been a whole lot of time, so I still feel the same.
Mhm.
um, you know, I know that it works because I know people that's in it. And as I mentioned in the episode, there is a couple that I have known for many years, now 5 years, and they married on paper because they don't live in Utah, of the state that three people can get married, but so they didn't marry on paper, but one of those we're a thruple, another lady, and
Mhm.
within that relationship, they now have the original couple now have a son on the way with the third party. Well, another one. They had one child, her, and now they're having the second. And there's just one big happy family, the three of them. And when I asked the gentleman about that, I was expecting to get some like surface answer, but he didn't give me one. He was really, he had really thought about it. And the fact that he and the first lady had this relationship that was long standing, and they decided to bring someone else into it. And as he put it, that person has brought even more life to the relationship. Literally with two kids, you know, into the relationship, but also metaphorically, she's brought life, he said. So, I mean, it's working for this throuple,
Mhm.
three people. And this is nothing new. I mean, we're seeing more of it now. So when I mean, is this something that you possibly have seen, read about, heard? Feel free to share.
I mean, actually, I've never met anyone in that particular situation, whether they're married or just all together. Um, it's just interesting to me though, because I think about could I do something like that, and I think no, I don't think I could. I think
Why?
I'm a jealous person for one, so I don't want to
Mm,
share. You know,
okay. Okay.
I don't want to have to live with somebody 24/7 and know that I have to share that time, their energy, their emotions, all of those things. Me and my sister were talking today, and we talked about a TV show called Sister Wives,
Uh
and
huh.
she was telling me about the different relationships that they had. That he started off with, I think, two, then he had three, then he had four, and how it was all great until the fourth wife.
Mm,
And they said that he said that he was in love with her, but wasn't you? Shouldn't you have been in love with the other wives?
right. That's
And
what I'm thinking.
right, and then I think a lot of times, and I could be wrong, like you said, people personally, and I don't. So, but I'm thinking that if you're in a relationship with multiple people, it's usually because you can't find everything you need, or you haven't been able to find everything you need in one person. So the multiple people are supplementing the different needs that you have that you can't find in that one person. But what happens if you find one person? and they have all those needs, then you kind of mess up the other person that's involved in that relationship, because you're like, oh wow, this person does, cook, clean, is sexually satisfying, and emotionally, everything is there.
Mhm.
So
Right.
I'm just trying to understand. I mean, and like I said, it's just from my viewpoint, because everybody is entitled to, their viewpoint and how they feel. But I think it would just be really, really, I try to figure out, like, what are the pros in that relationship, and then what are the cons. I don't really know. I've
Right.
thought about it, but I mean, maybe we can kind of go over that. What would be the pros to being in a poly relationship like that?
Hmm. Interesting question, because I mean, I'm similar to you.
Mhm.
I'm a jealous person, but I would be more romantically jealous than the
Right.
other stuff that you were talking about. All
Mhm.
of those other things are important too, but the jealousy on my end will come from, you know, romance side. So,
Mhm.
like for instance, if you, started to get, different feelings from the other person, or
Mhm.
better feelings, I'd be jealous of that. You know what I'm saying? That wouldn't work for
Mhm.
me. Like then, and because I'm a competitive person, so then I'd be like, well, I got to do better than he did, or whatever.
Right.
That would just not work for me. So going back to your question though, I mean the pros and the cons. We start off with the pro. I guess a pro would be that you have more than one partner.
Mhm.
Guess that could be a pro. It could also be a con because you got more than one
More than
partner.
one partner,
Yeah,
right?
that could be both.
I mean, I think maybe financially you could
I,
split things.
hey, I didn't think about that one. I didn't think about that. Yeah, financially, yes, that would be a pro.
Mhm.
Got another person there that bring money home. Mm.
You know
Um, Go ahead.
that you guys all living in the same place, and the bills can be split further down the middle than just two
Sure.
people. You break it up into threes or fours.
Yeah,
So
that would
I can
work.
I can see that. Maybe if you have kids, you know what I'm saying, you got somebody else to help you raise them, so that's an additional person there.
Or like with the other couple I mentioned, they couldn't have kids.
Mhm.
So bringing in this third person that could,
There you
that's
go.
made them a happier family. That's a pro for them.
Mhm.
And then I going back, piggybacking off of what you said earlier about with the conversation with you and your sister that in having these polyamorous relationships, you're bringing in all the qualities you can't get from one person. So now you're getting it from two, three,
From
four, five.
Yep. You get to pick and
So now you got
choose.
all your qualities that you want
Right.
because this person cooks, that person does this, that person does that, and then now you've got all of that with five, two, three, four, five people. To me,
Right.
that's just hilarious. To me. I can't really think about it seriously. But the only thing is it's not just that couple that I met. It's many couples that have not been able to fulfill it
Mhm.
that want that. That's what they're looking for.
Mhm.
I guess it's a sign of the times.
Right.
So I don't get it. Like I grew up with people that it was hard to maintain one mate,
Uh,
and then now we're talking about we got more than one, which takes us back to biblical times. When Solomon was on earth, and I mentioned that in the podcast too, that he had 1,000 wives and concubines. 1,000 wives and concubines. Think about that.
mm,
So it's only 365 days in a year. How do you get around to even if you romantically? How do you get around to 1,000 people?
mhm.
I mean,
I,
how could that physically happen?
he probably having sex with multiple people in one day, or
You would
multiple
have
people
to,
at
and
one
then still,
time.
and still, would you get back to 1,000 people? Like, would you actually be able to, circle back around and make sure you got at least one shot with everybody? And I mean, that
Mm.
that
So
just
in
sounds so crass and
In
You
other
know, now it seems like
words,
a game. It doesn't even seem like
yeah.
romance or love.
But as we were talking about earlier, then that means what? Somebody's missing out on something. You
Right.
cannot please everybody all the time. You just can't.
That old
Somebody's
adage, you
gonna
can't please all the people all the time. And you
right.
definitely can't romantically please all the people all the time.
I mean,
That's not gonna work.
because also what about, I thought about that, the age thing. So okay, so younger people, hormones are kind of raging, and I can kind of see, okay, yeah, we good. But when you get a little older and you start to lose your libido, somebody, and everybody doesn't lose it. So you know what I'm saying? And everybody's doesn't slow down. So then you have to worry about, well, who is going to be pleasing who, and then even though I'm not feeling like it, maybe I'm still feeling a bit jealous because you're spending more time with that person. What about cuddling? My sister talked about how on the show they started off all in one place, all in one
Mhm.
household,
Right.
and then they eventually moved to different households because they moved to a different state with different laws, and they all moved to different households. But so he would spend like a week with that person or a week with the other person. I'm like, I just can't do all of that. Like I can't imagine when I want to be held at night. I want to be held.
That's
Or
true.
if it's my time or not, you separating it by, you spending time with this person this week, and I suppose I'm feeling emotional, or I had a bad day at work and I need you there with me for the next couple of the days. Or things, just different things that make you be like, hmm, how do they,
Right.
you're really using a lot of your energy. Think about how much energy it it is to be in a relationship with one person. I can't
Right.
imagine spreading that out with two, three, four people.
Because one person consumes your whole life. They
Right.
become part of you. Now you got 2, 3. I guess a pro to that
Mhm.
is, like when you were saying earlier about the libidos and all that. So possibly if I got, my libido is getting low or whatever, and but there's this other person over there that, we don't have to go outside for you to be satisfied. You can be satisfied within the relationship.
Mhm.
I mean, I guess that could be another pro we could put on the list.
Yeah, that's what, someone was telling me, well, if I don't want it, or if I don't feel like doing it, I don't have a high uh my drive isn't high anymore, then I don't mind if he go over there for a week or two. Give me a break.
Right.
I ain't got to worry about
So so yeah, leave me alone. Go over there to her. Yeah, I
ah,
mean, I got a headache, you know.
mhm.
But I still don't see. Well, I mean, I don't see the pro in the whole thing. Now, I like I said, I did a whole podcast on it. I talked about it with this couple. They shared their, real deep intimacy, and I just still after the conversation walked away feeling like this is not something I could do.
Mm,
And I couldn't do it because of the competitive nature that I know I have. But like when you know yourself, don't put yourself in situations that you can't win.
right.
Like there's no way I can come out on top in a situation like that. Like that's just I'm not gonna win. I'm gonna lose it in that. I ain't gonna be happy.
Mhm. I think maybe people try, I don't know. Not try it, but maybe people have thought about doing it or trying it, and I think for something like that, when you think about even like, okay, should we try this? I think that your relationship need to be really strong. Don't be trying
Right.
it on the whim of, oh, this what he want, and I'm trying to make him happy, you know. And
That ain't gonna work.
you get caught up in it and like, yeah, this wasn't really what, I thought it was going to be. I knew a guy, he was a swinger, and him and his wife, and they were together for about 5 or 6 years. They were married, and but they ended up separating because that at the end, that's not what she wanted.
Right.
And that wasn't, a full blown, they were married, but they were outside, going outside, just for a night or two. And I thought that was like, wow, that's a lot. But then I think, hey, that was a lot for just, a night or two here and there. And you talking about somebody just in your life. And you gotta
Right.
both of y'all, all of y'all have to love each other. Like you know what I'm saying? Like you can't
Equally.
right. You can't just love I can't just love John and you love John. Like you gotta love me too, because I'm feeling a little, why John getting everything.
Right.
So,
Yes.
and then,
Yeah, that
you know,
that's a
it's
mess.
just weird because what I was thinking, women, we are so emotional.
You're not alone. Don't
We
think men are. They try to be all hard. They
they
are
try
too.
to be, but we like really, you know what I'm saying? Like we connect on a deeper level. And, you know, I don't know. I mean, you could say, I don't mind him doing this. And you may feel that way in the beginning. But I just think after a certain amount of time and, you just want more.
Hmm.
You want to
Yeah.
be poured into more. Maybe I don't want a half a cup anymore. I want the whole cup. You know?
Right. And you mentioned like, the swingers and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Well, that's what the conversation, like when we got the things that, the write-ins and admin at livelaughtalk.com, people
Right.
talked about swinging, oh, well, I can see doing that. But a polyamorous relationship isn't swinging.
It's not. It's
And I
totally
like the
different.
way you separated the two. You
Mhm.
know, one is a lifetime and equality, and a swinger it could be just a one time thing, one
Right.
night stand kind of thing.
Mhm.
So that's not the same.
It's not the same at all.
And then the question, the title of the podcast was, "Can you romantically love two people?" And
Mhm.
then some people just simply answered that without going into polyamory. They
Right.
just answered, "Yeah, I could love two people."
Mhm.
Hmm. I was, and I really wondered about that because the ones who wrote in and said stuff like, "We're men."
It would.
Mm, yeah.
So from a
So,
woman's viewpoint, yes, I think I could love two people at the same time.
mm,
But
okay, good.
could I have a relationship like that? Like it'll be two different kinds of love though. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, but it would still be romantic.
I could, yeah, it could be
See,
romantic, but
okay,
not necessarily, you know what I'm saying? It's never nothing is equal in this world. There's
no,
always going to be a more than or less than. So, you know, how do you separate, there's going to be one that you would prefer to do this with or prefer to do that much more for than the other.
right,
And that's just a hard pill to swallow, I think. I think, for me, I'm very I need that reassurance.
right.
You know what I'm saying? That you really care about me and it's me, and I think that's what most relationships are about anyway. You want to be number one in that person's life.
Exactly.
But in that kind of relationship, you can't be number one because there's more than one of you. You know?
There you go. And I
So,
like to talk about the legalities of it
okay.
because there's only one state in this whole nation that you can even legally do this.
That's Utah, right?
Right. So if you
Yeah.
did this in, let's just say you in South Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and like we'll take the other couple for instance. Okay, so they were a couple, then they brought on this other young lady and her kids,
Mm-hmm.
and they are sharing everything equally. They're doing all the same. They're doing the parenting, all that. But what if one of them passes away?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a member of the original married couple. Well, then what's left to the other person that they got with, but they weren't legally married to? Or
Mm.
maybe if something happened to the both of them, a car accident or something, and still it left the other one, they would just be in shambles because the next of kins would then come in and just take everything. She would have had nothing.
Right. Yes, that's
So
true.
the legalities of it for me would stop me because I'm more of a paperwork kind of person. I
Mm-hmm.
want to see papers, and if we got no papers, then we have no protection. Papers are protection.
Right.
So everything else is just some talk because we can't. If it's not legal, then we can't protect ourselves.
Mhm.
Like I can't insure an illegal drug ring.
He
I
said they
can't. uh, I can't. I can't have a cartel and have all my product insured. I lose the product, I just lost. Well,
Mhm.
that's the same thing here with this. That would be an illegal enterprise. You can't make it work unless you're in Utah. Everywhere
Yeah.
else,
Unless they gonna
it's
set up a
polygamy.
window and break it all down, they could do that. But if they don't have that in place, yeah.
You just out. And I don't like just being out. I don't want to be, left in the cold with my pants down, so to speak. So
Right.
yeah, that's one thing that I think about. But I think the most important thing for me would be the romantic side of it. I'm awfully jealous. I know I would I would have some feelings one way or the other.
Mhm.
And I've sat and tried to think, even when recording this before, try to take myself out of the situation and go, okay, what if just maybe in every scenario I can think in my head, no, mm-mm.
He said no. Mm-mm.
But there's so many people, like I said, I've met individuals that that is what they want. They want that another. It's all another. They want to be in a polyamorous relationship. And that's that. And not males. The last two people I met were females. That's what they wanted.
Yeah. These relationships these days, I don't even know if, nobody wants to get married anymore.
No, I don't know how the ring companies stay in business. I've said that before. Kay and Jared and all these other companies should just be going out of business because ain't nobody buying no wedding rings no more.
Yeah, they just like, okay, well, we just gonna do this, and we don't need the extras to go with it. And then you got that, and then you got, well, we're gonna have multiple partners, and we're gonna see how this works. And um, I don't know, just like having everybody on the same page. Think about the arguments and the debates you had with your spouse,
Think
your
about that.
girlfriend, and then now you got to double this or triple this.
Think of it. Thank. That's one thing I know about women is y'all gonna stick together. So ain't no way I'm gonna be able to win anything. No argument whatsoever. That's out.
It's just bad. It is bad. And then let me tell you what else did my sister tell me. She told me that on the show, he eventually got a divorce from one of the women, and they had all put in, because of course, if you in a group like that, you can put in and they buying houses together. And um he was like, well, that's not fair if you're gonna keep this house, because no, she was gonna sell the house or something. And he was like, well, that's not fair because I put in on that house. And she was like, well, the money that I put down on the other house over here, and you can just keep that. And I'm like,
Mm,
wow, so you got to debate all of that out when it's all done and over with, because
yes.
it's bad enough to be. I done been divorced, so it's bad enough to be dealing with the finances through one person. Then you got
Right.
multiple people you got to figure out. You know what I'm saying? In a bad situation, ill feelings and all of that. Are you going to be civil?
And
And
I would like to think I would be, but it would be hard. Feelings get involved.
mm-hmm.
You're gonna say and do a lot of terrible things.
And then not just civil with one person. Now you got to figure out multiple personalities.
Yes.
What somebody going to do or what somebody want. Somebody else, one person might be like, "Oh no, that's fine. We can figure this out." And somebody else might be like, "No, I'm not doing that, or I'm not settling for that."
And I like your choice of words with the settling. Most people don't see it as a settling. They see it as something new and unique and
Mm-hmm.
awesome. For me, I'm more of a monogamous type of thinker. And then another question I have, like, where does it stop?
Right. Where does it start? Suppose somebody want, like, you are you talking about like multiple, like, okay, now I
Um,
want another one, and I want another one, and I want another.
yeah,
Right.
because just because you got two people, there were those like you mentioned there where the guy had like four wives or five wives or something like that. But there have been people in these polyamorous relationships, and it's like four of them, five of them. It's two guys, two girls, kind of
Mm.
thing. Where does it stop? Do we keep adding on people? Well, we're going to add on another party and then another party, and there's a chance it could never end.
And where do the kids fit in? I mean, I get
That's
it.
the
So,
question.
are the kids calling everybody mommy and daddy? You know what I'm saying? And then if it doesn't work out, how does that work out? Do or so now it's my child, but I'm in a relationship with another man and a woman. That child was calling that person mommy also and really felt that they were mommy also. And now we all go our separate ways. What is that? How does that, no, what's going on with the child?
I
How
don't even
the child
know.
is emotionally,
I can't see that being successful. You know,
how, it's very, divorces are very damaging to kids. So to throw an extra person in that mix is just a lot to me.
right?
You
That's
know.
just when you start talking about the children. I mean, there's no way they can't be affected.
Mhm.
I mean, even think about it, if when, like you said, if they call everybody mom and daddy, what about when they go to school?
Mhm.
What's going to happen then? This is my mama, and then that's my mama, and that's my mom.
Yeah. Some
Oh no, that's not,
have to
that's
break
not gonna work.
it down to the child because at some point the child's gonna come home and be like, "Well, everybody else only got one mom or one dad, so why I got two, three?" You know. you know.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess the answer to the question, if we go back, can you romantically love two people? You said yes, you could romantically love two people and
Mhm.
and sincerely love,
Mhm. I
but then
could.
you're saying that you couldn't marry them
No.
both.
Yeah. It requires, love is on love. Everybody see love and they just be like, okay, if you love somebody, you love them. But I think there are different levels to love
Oh
for,
yeah, that's for sure.
for how much you can love somebody, how deeply you can love somebody. So that's why I say you can do it on that level, but there are still different levels as to how much you feel for somebody. And I just don't think that I can honestly say, yeah, um I feel good. I feel the same, that equal between both parties at the same time.
I don't see the equality. Like you said, it's never nothing's ever equal. I
Mm.
like that point. For me, I couldn't. I don't even think I could do the romantically love two people. Like I would always love one or what one does for me better than the other one who doesn't do that.
Mhm.
So I don't think I could do either. I, kn- I couldn't romantically love two people nor get into a polyamorous relationship.
Mhm.
I know I can most definitely not the polyamorous.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's interesting to me though. It really is because I just wonder, especially when they last for a long time.
Right.
I
But
want.
and when you talk to people about it, they literally give you good answers.
Mhm.
Like that couple I mentioned did. They gave good answers. There was no, it didn't sound crazy.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a long. I had also looked it up and noticed that they say the average is 5 to 8 years. That's the average. Not saying people make it that long. I'm not saying people end it, but that's about the average of how long those marriages usually last.
Well, goodness, that's longer than the regular marriage.
Yeah, you're
Cause
not
they,
lying. Oh, you're not lying. Look,
cause they not lasting at all these days.
they not. They really not. It's bad. It's bad. Marriages are pretty bad these days.
Yeah, if,
But
if marriage was a
be,
stock, it would be plummeting right now.
I think it could be a healthy relationship for the right people.
Polyamory?
Yeah, just
Yeah,
for the right people.
I would
Right.
imagine. I've seen it.
Mhm.
It's working.
Yeah, it's working for somebody out there. Somebody making it work and like, yeah, we done did this. We don't have no issues. Not major issues anyway, where we feel like it's splitting us up. But you got to find the right people on the that's on that right mind frame.
Yeah, as you mentioned earlier, y'all got to stay on the same train of thought. Like everybody's got to want the same thing out of the relationship.
Mhm.
Everybody's got to be on the same page all the time. Because if there's any, going to the left or to the right, it's over.
It's over, yeah. Yeah.
Y'all
But I
got
mean,
to stay down
I
that same
guess
train.
they'll have the same. I think that it's just a little. I think it would be a little more strained than what a normal relationship would be. But I'm saying, I mean, we all have those same issues in regular relationships too. It's just more people involved and more emotions. But I guess if it's tamed properly, then it can work itself out.
Yeah. So, and we had people, like I say, they wrote in. They said all these different things about how they feel about polyamory, but then there were others who started talking about just the fact of somebody else being in your relationship, or you're, you know,
Yeah.
lusting after some other person or whatever, and that has a host of negative effects that could happen as well. Like you said with
Right.
the swingers, eventually she didn't want to do that anymore,
Mhm.
and that was that. So it hindered their marriage. What happened to their marriage?
Yeah, they got divorced.
Wow. So
But they were still good friends. Like they were great friends. She just didn't want to. She wanted him. She was like, "Well, I don't want to do it anymore. That's not what I want." And he was like, "He's not going to stop." So she was like, "Well, that's not what I want. So if you're not going to stop, then we can't be together." And he chose to move on. But they stayed really good friends.
and see, so he actually chose a lifestyle over her.
He did. He'll tell you that he chose that. He said that's just what I prefer. And if I'm ever going to be with anybody, they need to understand that that's what it is.
So you could actually love, as you mentioned earlier, love another person more than enough. Because if
Mm,
you can love the lifestyle itself enough to leave your marriage, then imagine you could definitely love somebody else come along enough to leave that person as well.
right, right. But I felt like I would, I guess she respected it in the sense that he told her that that's what he wanted to do, and he didn't say, okay, well, we can stay together. I'm gonna do better, and I'm gonna do this. But then went out there and cheated.
Right.
So he gave her a straight answer and let her know that and they made that decision. And I think because they made the decision together and honesty was involved, uh, it just made the whole divorce a lot easier and simpler.
Yeah, I wonder what the divorce rate, or not even that, but the rate of people that step outside the relationship is in a polyamorous relationship. Because there's really no reason to step outside. You got more than one partner. Now you're just being greedy.
He said now you're just being greedy.
You just taking it too far. You got two people, three, four people at home, and you got some folks on the street. You just
Hmm.
that could be so. But glad we had this conversation. I always enjoy talking with you about all subjects, and this was one that we picked out of the hat, went back and looked at the podcast before and talked about something. So
Hmm.
you talked about it with your sister and other people, and I just love the way people have opinions on it. I've never talked to anyone that didn't have an opinion about that. If
Mm.
you mention it to somebody, they're gonna definitely talk to you about it. So if people have definitely thought about it before.
Hmm.
But would you do it? Thinking about it, doing it, two different things.
Right, right. There
We
you
both
go.
answered no.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't do it.
Wouldn't do it. Yep, wouldn't do it. So anyway, I have enjoyed this conversation, enjoyed this podcast. I know that we have many more subjects coming on our Monday shows, and
Yeah.
I think the people are going to be excited about some of the things that we got coming down the pike. It's going to be some things we're going to agree on and not agree on as well. So I think they like to not agree on stuff with us even more so.
Well, we'll look for one.
Yeah. Well, we like-minded in a lot of ways, but there are those subjects that we go, uh-oh, I'm going this way, you going that way.
Hmm.
But, I'm going to definitely, you know, say that this is always a joy. It's a pleasure. I love the fact that we have this. podcast with each other. Anything, any thoughts, any ideas, any words, anything you'd like to say in conclusion?
No, I mean, if you're looking to get into that relationship, just make sure that y'all have a good relationship to start with. And if you're already in that relationship, y'all make sure y'all keep those communication lines open. Be honest with each other, and make sure you express what you want and need at all times.
Words of wisdom.
Yep.
Words of wisdom. Thank you. So, as our day comes to a conclusion, would you say good night, Miko?
Good night, Miko.